my name is Hope and welcome back to my channel. I like musicals, they're a big part of my life, and today we're going to be talking about the craziest thing I have ever read. Now, I don't know if you can class it as a musical. In some ways I do, and in some ways I don't. But today we're going to be talking about a High School Musical fan theory in which they're all murderers. But let me explain. So, High School Musical is a 3-part film series and then a TV series with stupidest name that I've ever heard. But anyway, it was also made into an onstage musical, which somehow I have managed to do twice. But you know, that's also not relevant to my point, so hopping back, I was on Reddit and I was scouring through looking for something to do for a video. And even though I was like, the High School Musical films are technically not musicals, this theory was too crazy, too insane, to be honest, pretty entertaining, but I was like, I have to cover it. I have to share this with people. It's just too insane. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so by this point, this theory is 5 years old and it's from a girl or guy, I'm not sure, called The Sky Was the Robot on Reddit. And basically, they're just trying to say that in the universe of High School Musical, crime and the legal system, including the social contract, never existed. Now, if you're wondering what the social contract is, it's basically this agreement between you and everyone else around you to restrict your rights and create a more fulfilling life for everyone. This idea that you don't kill for the right so you don't get killed yourself, you don't murder so that you don't have murder yourself. And the way that the legal system works is by putting in the agreement or the right of sorts that you are not allowed to kill anybody. It shows the world that it's not okay to kill anyone and life would just generally be better without people killing people, which is, you know, totally true and totally fair, and that's how the legal system works. So basically, the High School Musical universe is set in an alternate Albuquerque in an alternate world. So basically it's just the Purge with more basketball. But in this theory, it's like the social contract and just the legal system in general never existed. And they actually got this whole theory from Kevin Carr, who worked on the 3 films, and he basically said that the aim of High School Musical the film was to really just have a story. It was never really deep or anything like that, and that's kind of why there's like no sex or drugs or violence. Also for the fact that it's made for a younger audience, so you know, that takes into account too. But yeah, in this theory, the legal system never existed. We just live in a purge world. But let's actually get on to the actual theory itself. So I think we should start off with the characters and what the characters do and how that would actually have repercussions in real life. So to start off, at the beginning of the second movie, in the song What Time Is It, basically pretty much the opening to the second film, you see the entire school get trashed by the cast and the characters. They literally trash it, they're throwing things around, they're destroying everything, it's a whole mess. And you know, you'd think that, oh, well, they'll just clean it up. Like, no, like, that's not cool. That's not cool at all. Unless you have like a terrible principal or head teacher or whatever, that's not going to be the outcome you get. You're gonna get repercussions for that. If your head teacher's nice, she'll get shouted at, but if they're not, you can get community service for doing that, because that's basically destruction of state property. You also have the working conditions in the second movie for when they go and like work. They're like totally not okay, because you have to remember these guys, some of them are probably still underage. Like when you graduate high school, not everyone is 18. Like Sharpay literally bribed the like dude who owns Lava Springs, which is the name of like the country club, to work them. That's not okay. Like the bribery from Sharpay, like the employment of these teenagers, like it's just very illegal, and it would have got them sued very quickly. Then you have Work It Out again with the working conditions. Like they're jumping on the walls, they're using all the equipment, they're like messing it all around. Like that's called contamination. I don't think they're washing all them plates. I don't think they're washing all that cutlery. Do you? No, precisely. That's contamination. It's not hygienic. Health and safety violations. Jail. You see the chain that I'm going in here. I know I'm talking about the second movie a lot, but this is probably where the most stuff gets broken. Basically, at the end of the film, they have like the reservation at the pool party kind of thing. Do you know how long it takes to get a private reservation for a thing? It takes about 2-3 weeks. It takes a long time, and that just depends on where you're going. You have to plan in advance, but do you think these teenagers are planning in advance? No, they're just going with the flow. They're going with the life. But do you know why they could make that reservation in one day? Because they stole it. Because they don't need to. Because there's no laws. Oh my god, this theory is just so amazing. I love it. It is great. Again, with the second movie. I know I'm talking about it a lot, but there's just so many things. If you think about the song All for One, like that doesn't really send the best message. Like the song is super upbeat and you're like, yeah, all for one. But like all for one just insinuates that these people are extremely selfish. Yeah, all for one person. There's no sharing going on here. And that's basically how the Purge world is. Like you can look out for other people, but they could very well just stab you in the back, metaphorically or literally. They could just stab you in the back. Okay, so now if we move on to the third film, there's also a lot there that, you know, is illegal, so we're just gonna get into it straight away. The biggest one, and probably the biggest plot point, is Troy getting into Juilliard when he never applied. And if you've never seen High School Musical, you're probably thinking, well, how does that work? Well, basically, we find out that Miss Darbus, one of his teachers, his drama teacher, basically applied for him without his knowledge. And do you know what that's called? Fraud or forgery, either one, but both highly illegal. They can both send you up to like 10 years in prison. Like it's not like a minor thing. It's a very serious crime. It's basically identity theft in a way, because what you're doing is you're taking someone's identity and pretending to be them. So, you know, when you put it like that, it sounds pretty serious, right? But no one seems to care. Everyone seems to be pretty happy about it, pretty chill, pretty cool. No one's bothered. Do you know why? Because there's no law. No one cares. What's the point in caring? Like, it's not a big deal. It's just not. Like, does anyone face any consequences? No, because there isn't any. There doesn't have to be any, because crime is legal. Also, in the third one, there is also a part where Chad and Troy basically take Rocket Man. I actually have no idea who Rocket Man is. I've not seen the High School Musical franchise in quite a while. But yeah, they take his clothes and like run off. And while Rocket Man, whoever he is breaking many, you know, indecency laws, I don't think people realise how weird that is. Like, if somebody took your clothes and ran off with them, you would think they were a psychopath. A literal psychopath. Why would anyone do that? That's weird. It's really, really weird. That's not normal. But does anyone care? No, because they can do whatever they like. Honestly, the further we go on with this theory, I just think the better it gets, because this person also suggests that the music sequences, you know, the songs that we know and love, we love them, they're great, are LSD trips. Literal LSD trips. I told you, this theory is insane. It's crazy. But to be honest, again, it does make a lot of sense. Like, if you're living in a world with no laws and you're a teenager, are you not gonna do drugs? Are you gonna be, like, living in your own normal society? Like, no. It sounds crazy and totally insane, but, like, it's fair. It's true. And this isn't me condoning doing drugs. Like, don't, please. I'm not condoning this at all. But I'm saying, if you lived in an anarchic world like in The Purge, or like in High School Musical, apparently, it just would seem a lot more normal because it's legal. And if you're thinking, oh, well, if they live in this anarchic world, then why don't they ever mention it? Would you? Like, unless you're literally insane, you're not going to be having conversations about committing arson. Like, you're just not. Like, they don't need to explain this to each other. They know that. We don't know that, but they know that. And they're not going to bring it up in conversation unless it's relevant. They do this in other films as well, obviously to a less extreme extent, where two characters do not need to establish that they're brother and sister, because they already know that they're brother and sister, and they usually, the way that they explain it to us is by them living in the same house, having the same parents. Like, that's how we find out. They never specifically tell us, oh, that's the son and that's the daughter. matter because they don't need to, because they show it us. Whereas in here, they kind of do show it us through the crazy amount of crime that's committed through the series. But like, you know, they don't need to confirm it to each other. They know that they live in a world where they could just casually stab someone in the eye, but they don't need to justify that because they already know that. And this is why I think it's like the kind of the final icing on the cake for this theory as to why it's literally one of my favourite things ever. What this person's basically trying to say is that High School Musical is a look on the social construct and why if we lived in a world with no laws, we would all ultimately be happier. Which I don't really think is true, like the entirety of this theory, but it's just so interesting and so amazing that I just had to share. So what they say is that when you're in a world with no social contract, you're kind of free to do whatever you want. There's no rules that are restricting you. There's nothing against it. You're literally just in a world where anything is pretty much possible. And for that reason, it just kind of makes people generally happier. Because no one's stopping you from doing anything. Like, you have the right to do anything you want to. So is there more of a reason to be sad if you do? I think it's a very complicated rule, and it's just this kind of idea that when nothing's stopping you, you're ultimately happier, which I don't know if I would agree with that, but it's this idea that no one can ever be sad except from, you know, when Gabriella in the first one cries about Troy. But what I'm trying to say is like, you are much less likely to be sad in a world of High School Musical where you can do anything whenever and wherever, as opposed to like our society where you're restricted from doing a lot of things. So basically what High School Musical is trying to say is if we lived in a lawless world, everyone would ultimately be happier. Or it's just a musical film about basketball. We may never know. But that is the theory. I think it's insane, but I think it's absolutely brilliant. Do I think that High School Musical is set in a Purge universe? No. No, I don't. But this theory makes a very good argument, and it's very interesting and entertaining, and hopefully you enjoyed listening to it. And also hopefully I explained it well enough for people to understand it. But thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, like it, leave your comments below. If you have any other crazy fan theories or what you thought of this one, I think it's brilliant. I think it's great, but I want to hear your opinions too. But if you like this video, you can like it, subscribe if you feel like it. If you like any kind of musical content, you know where to come now. But thank you, keep enjoying musicals as much as me, and I will see you in the next one.